Hello everybody, and we are back with day 11 of our 12 days of Christmas. I am Trina, the owner and creator behind Diamonds and Dust. Today we have a tutorial that is probably one of my most asked questions on my Etsy page. How do you make the shaker snow globe with the mold that I sell in my shop? So today I am going to show you how to turn it into a super cute ornament. I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to join my Diamonds and Dust Facebook group with the link in the description for your chance to enter one of our giveaways. This makes a super cute addition to your tree or a perfect gift. So let's get started. We are going to grab our mold and some 2-part epoxy, mixing that up really well. And then you are going to add in your glitter of choice. I went with Very Cherry. It's a really beautiful deep red with multiple sizes. And then we are gonna pour that in our mold, trying not to overfill it. We don't want any to run on to the surface of the mold. If that happens, it's okay, just leave it. It just will leave a little bit of sanding work after the mold is cured. Once you get your epoxy poured in, give it about 5 minutes or so until a lot of those bubbles rise to the surface. And you're gonna wanna take a heat gun to pop your bubbles and not a torch, because the torch does heat up the epoxy fast, and the mold and the epoxy can actually bond together, and you won't be able to get your mold out without ripping the silicone mold. Let your epoxy cure. I usually do this overnight because it's really hard to resist not wanting to pull your pieces out of the mold. But once it's cured, you can remove it from the mold. And if you have any sharp edges or anything on the back, you can sand them down. Once again, I just take my handy dandy nail file and give it a good once over around the edges. Now take your sandpaper or sanding block, or in my case, the nail file, and we're actually going to rough up the surface of the mold all the way around the snow globe. Now this step is optional, but I always do it. It kind of separates that bottom section. And there is just a little divot right there in the snow globe, like the stand it would be on. And I'm just going to paint inside that divot. Once your paint is dry, grab your acetate sheets. These are the ones I just got on Amazon, but it does not matter the brand whatsoever. And then we are going to place that on top of the snow globe. And what I like to do is trace the outside around the snow globe part. We're not going to trace the part on the bottom, just right above the bottom, if that makes sense. And then once I get that all traced, what I do is I cut inside of the marker to make sure I cut the marker off, making sure that those black Sharpie marks are not on my piece. I am going to double check my acetate sheet, making sure that it covers the whole of the snow globe, but not hangs over the edges. If it matches and lines up perfectly, then make sure you pay attention to where you put this because they do like to disappear, but just put that to the side for a minute. I have been collecting shaker pieces for years and years because, as I said in a previous video, I used to only make shaker keychains, but I'm going to add some snowflakes. These are actually little like plastic buttons, and they have this little plastic ring, and I like to use those as like a bigger element in my pieces. So I just snip those off using those little plier type looking things. We're going to add a couple of those. I have some clay bit snowflakes in all types of colors. Some of the other things I like to add are chunkier glitters. I have some little micro beads. I think I even have some of these little weird things that I think go in a fish tank. But the possibilities are fairly endless. You're just going to want to make sure that they are flat enough that they don't stick up and touch your acetate sheet, because once you get epoxy on it, it won't float around, it will get stuck. Once you have your shaker filled as much as you would like, I kind of aim for most of the base to be, I don't know, maybe 3/4 filled. You can kind of see here, because if you don't add enough, it kind of looks a little chintzy and it's not quite as fun to see everything travel around in that liquid. But we are going to take our UV resin and just a tiny bit around the outer edge. I like to just add a little bead and then I'll spread it out with usually a toothpick, but I couldn't find one, so I'm using a popsicle stick. And you're not going to want to use too much, just because we don't want it to overflow. What will happen is it will overflow on the inside, and then your little pieces will get stuck to your piece and not float around. The other thing you're going to want to make sure is bring your light to your piece and not your piece to your light, because once again, if there's anything that is stuck to the top without being cured, your little pieces will now stick to your acetate. Place your acetate right on top, and I just gently push it down with my popsicle stick, making sure that there are no gaps in the UV resin. You can usually tell when there isn't, because the whole piece where the UV resin will turn clear. Then you're going to cure that with your light. Once it is cured, take a teeny tiny drill bit. I think this is like 1/16 of an inch, and drill a hole in a non-conspicuous place. And we are going to fill this shaker with our liquid of choice. I just put it in this needle nose bottle that I got on Amazon, but you can also use one of those craft syringes as well. You're going to fill this up as much as you possibly can with the smallest bubble possible. This will ensure that your piece flows really well, and it just makes it look really good if you don't have a ton of bubbles. Wipe off your liquid if you have any sort of spillage, and then we're going to take a little dot of UV resin and cover that hole up. Once that little dot of UV resin is cured, you can add decals if you would like. This time I chose just something really simple and generic, and I put Christmas 2022, but you could also make these customizable with the Smith's Christmas or just the year or whatever. Get creative with it, and if you are making these as custom, then they can choose to add whatever they would like. I'm just putting the Christmas at the top and the 2022 kind of down in the bottom right corner. Now we are going to seal this all in by coating the entire top surface with a layer of epoxy. This is called doming. This isn't just like spread it on and make it look coated. It actually, you kind of want it to look slightly raised. So how I do that is I just kind of pour a puddle in the middle of the piece and take a popsicle stick and kind of drag it out to the outer edge. And then I will fill up the bottom and do the exact same thing there. Just take the popsicle stick and kind of push it to the outer edge. Then I get down more on like a eye level to my table and see if the epoxy starts pulling from the side, or if it doesn't look domed, then I will add just a little bit more in the center, which it will kind of push out the rest of the epoxy to the edges. This is kind of a learning curve. It's kind of a, I need enough, but not too much or it will spill over the sides. So just make sure you play around with it and be patient with yourself. If it does by chance spill over to the back, it's not a big deal. Just sand it down and dome the back as well. Now that your piece is all cured and it looks shiny and domed and super professional, we're going to take our little drill again and just start drilling a teeny tiny hole, not too deep because you will go all the way through your piece, which is fine if you do because we're going to cover it up. But then we are just going to take a little teeny tiny eye screw, place it in the hole, screw it down if you need to, or if your hole is just big enough you can plop it in. Then add some UV resin at the top, put in your eye screw, and then you are going to cure that under your UV light. Now I am going to weave through just this cute green ribbon through that eye hook, tying off the top but making sure that it is still long enough that you could hang this on a branch or whatever use you made it for. And then I just tied this little red bow, and I'm going to take a lighter and I'm actually going to slightly burn the edges of my ribbon. This will keep it from trying to fray over time. And then I'm just going to glue it on top of that eye hook. And here is our cute snow globe Christmas shaker ornament, all finished. I don't know what it is, but these are just so satisfying to me to see all of our cute little elements floating around. I think these would also make a really cute personalized gift every year. I hope you guys enjoyed this fun tutorial. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel and look for me on all other social media platforms under Diamonds and Dust.